Welcome to the July the 27th, 1999 pre-taping of a wonderful history tape number 372. And we're just very delighted today to have a very special family that represents Grand Prairie in more ways than one, and we're going to find that out as we bring you this history tape, as we bring you the history of the city and the people that caused history to happen, and they're still making history today. And we're very pleased to have today Mr. and Mrs. Tom Hart. And Mr. Tom Hart is our wonderful new, not really brand new, city manager. Mr. Tom Hart, welcome to the set, young man.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. And Susan Hart, wonderful wife and mother of Mr. Hart's children. Isn't it wonderful to have you on the set today?
Yes, it is. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much. And our two young men, in order of their ages, if you please. First of all, Austin is 12, and Austin, I want to welcome you to the set, young man. Are you glad to be here, or are you just a happy camper anywhere?
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Oh, that's good. And Travis, 10 years old. Wonderful to have you with us today, young man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Well, that sounds Texan, doesn't it? Isn't that great? With your permission, young man, we're going to leave you all to the last part of the interview, and we're going to begin with your parents. And first of all, Mr. Tom Hart, we'd like for you to look out into your camera and tell us about the real Tom Hart, where you were born, the name of your parents, and maybe if you have brothers or sisters, we'd like to know that, and get us a little mini genealogy going, sir.
Very good, Mrs. Jackson. Thank you. Well, I was born in Texarkana, Texas, on the Texas side. I want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
All right.
It was close to the border, but 3 blocks count. So, lived in Texas all my life. My parents were or still are, one is still living, thank goodness, Marilyn and Jean Hart. They were, you couldn't ask for better parents. I was an only child. So I spent a lot of time with them, as you know, only children tend to do, and just could not ask for anything better. They retired up to Lake Texoma a number of years ago, and spent many great years after my dad retired up there. And we had some good times up there, the whole family. And then my dad's health deteriorated, and he moved, and mother moved with him down to a apartment near us. And we lost him soon to be 3 years ago, but mother is still living, and she has now gotten back very active. She's living in a small apartment over in Euless, and she's made a bunch of wonderful friends, and she plays bridge twice a week. And she said, "I'm close enough. I'm not coming down to Grand Prairie with you." She was just a couple of blocks from us when we lived in Euless, but she's still just literally a few minutes. She's got a good life, and she's spending a lot of weekends, and we made sure we bought a home that had a bedroom for her, and we fixed it up. So she's going to kind of be back and forth, and that's kind of it in a nutshell. Like I said, Texarkana, and then later we moved to Garland, and after that I went off to school, and I finished up school at North Texas, and then I worked for several cities as I kind of worked my way up through the ranks.
And we're going to backtrack right now. And where did you go to elementary school in Texarkana?
I went to elementary school in Texarkana.
You want to name that school?
No, ma'am, I do not. I can't even remember the name of it. It's been so long.
It is since elementary.
I can't. We were traveling this weekend, and we had car trouble, and we broke down in Texarkana. So it looked like we were going to be there a few days, so I would have had time to go back and research that.
Yes,
Fortunately,
that's all right. And now, was there a favorite teacher during your elementary years that really set the stage for you, or who was the motivating force behind Tom Hart that really created that successful urge to be important?
Well, I think mentors have been a very strong part of my life, and it's something that I have tried to carry on and give back. Probably the first strong mentor I had was a teacher in middle school, junior high, and it was a gentleman named Weldon Smith, who spent a lot of time working with the students and got me involved in gymnastics, which was something that turned out to be a big part of my life, and ended up putting me through a lot of my college years on a scholarship. So it was his early, I think, teachings that was one of the influences outside of my family life that was very strong. Another strong influence for me was I was in scouting, and there were several gentlemen that dedicated an awful lot of their personal time to the scouting program. And because of them, scouting became a major part of my life, and I got some great opportunities and I think some great teaching. From there, after that,
How about high school?
the high school was it was really the next major mentor was I think probably the first city manager I had the chance to work for, and it was.
Was that in Texarkana?
No, that was in the city of Odessa, Mrs. Jackson. That's
All
where
right.
I was going. It's where I'd been going to school, and I'd started working for the city part-time, and a city manager out there one day took the time to visit with me and get me inspired about something that I was going to dedicate my life to. And it was through him taking personal time to instill in me the excitement and the vision of what the profession that he was in. It inspired me to do what I've done since then. So there's been some major influences kind of at various periods.
Along the way. All right. When you're in Odessa, were you going to college there?
Yes,
Name your college.
I went to Odessa College
And
out
your
there.
career study?
And I was studying a little bit of everything out there. I went from physical education to criminal justice,
All right.
to business,
Yes.
and finally ended up in business, was what my final degree ended up. But criminal justice was always an interest, and I think that tied back later when I was thinking I wanted to be in some type of management, and then I found out that city management was a great combination for me. I got to be a manager, and I still got to be involved in the criminal justice system. So even though I didn't finish my education in criminal justice, I've got to do a little bit of both, and that's been one of the joys of my business.
Best of two worlds, wasn't it?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to leave you for a
Go.
moment. I'm going to Susan, and we're going to have to get her along the way and see, get her genealogy and how her wonderful life began. Would you tell us, Susan?
Yes, I will. Tom doesn't like me to say this, but I'm actually a Yankee. When we first got married, he said, "Please don't ever tell anybody that you're a Yankee." But
You got
I'm
here as
quite
soon as you
proud of
could.
it. Yeah, that's
You got
right.
here as
I
soon
got
as
here
you
as soon as
could.
I could. I was born in a little town in Pekin, Illinois, near Peoria. And my father and mother were Peggy and Bill Skinner, and my father was a grain buyer for a corn products company, which is Mazola Corn Oil, Skippy Peanut Butter, and he bought grain throughout his life for these products. His job took him to the Board of Trade in Chicago, Illinois, so we moved to Chicago, and I was there many years, and my 5th grade year, he was transferred to Corpus Christi, so that's how I got my taste of Texas, and we all fell in love with Texas.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have 2 brothers, one 2 years older and one 2 years younger. One brother, the 2 children in Chicago, he decided to stay up there, and another brother in the
Would you
Plano
name
area.
him? Would you
Yes,
name
his
him?
name is Mike Skinner, and his wife Mary Beth, and 2 children. And I have a brother Bob that's in the Plano area with 2 children and a wife as well.
Oh, that's right. Wonderful. All right. And now that we have you, did you have any mentors in elementary or junior high or high school that you'd like in this record?
I'd probably say my first mentor would really be more in college. I was a business major, business and marketing, and I had a marketing problems teacher, Dr. McWhorter, and
Yes.
he taught us to think. He taught us to work through problems, and I believe he probably made a big difference in my life.
And where was the college?
That was at North Texas State University in Denton.
In Denton?
Yes.
All right. Did that have to do with the fact that your parents had moved to the Corpus area?
Yes, they actually, my senior year, they got transferred back to the Chicago Board of Trade area, and I finished school up there and then came back down to college. I just knew Texas was going to be for me.
And Texas drew you back here?
Absolutely.
With your parents?
Yes, thousands of miles away.
Thousands of miles away.
Left home when I was 17. They couldn't believe it.
Yes.
But,
And how did you acclimate to Denton and to college life so far from Yankee land?
quite well. I had a great time. Enjoyed the studies. Again, I was in a business administration, and I actually lived in Dallas and commuted to Denton, so had quite a few friends there. And then Tom and I met at the city of Denison.
At the city of Denison. We're going to leave you right there.
Okay.
All right. You're in Denton still, but we're going to get you over close to Denison in a few minutes. All right. Now, let's pick you back up. We have you into city management studies and college. And what happened after that?
Well, as is pretty typical with people going into my profession, you tend to start out in kind of staff jobs. So for 2 years while I was going to school in Odessa, I was working during the day and going to school in the evening, and worked in several departments, getting experience across the board. And then the city manager called me one day and said a friend of his had an internship program in Denton, Texas, the city manager. So I went and interviewed for the job, was lucky enough to get it. I had to take a half-cut in salary to go from Odessa to Denton to get this city manager internship. But the more I researched, the more I found out it looked like it would be the right move to give me the training I wanted to be a city manager. So I made the move to Denton, took the half-cut in salary, and started going to school at night there and working during the day for the Denton city manager as an administrative assistant. Spent 2 years there, finished my undergraduate degree in business, started a master's degree in public administration, and then I had an opportunity to go to the Colony as their first city manager. And in 1978, I moved to the Colony as their first city manager and spent 3 years there. After that, I went up to Denison, which was a larger town, as an assistant city manager, and spent 1 year there as assistant, then was promoted up first to acting manager and then to city manager. It was at that time that Susan and I met. Susan was the city secretary at that time.
At Denison?
At Denison.
You
So-
did not know her at North Texas?
No, we both graduated there, but never crossed paths.
This is very ironic. Very exciting, very exciting. All right, now we have you at Denison, Texas, and you are a city manager, and she's the city secretary, and romance bloomed, right?
It bloomed over burritos, yes.
Yes, uh-huh. You want to tell us how you met, Susan? You tell that part, because he won't be as honest as you will.
Well, the first day he walks in and as the assistant city manager, and I was the city manager's secretary at that point, and he was very nice. He introduced himself, and then he told me to find him an apartment in the town. So that was my first order of business, to find him an apartment.
Yes.
So that's how we met, and then we started going, obviously, to meetings together, and
Yes, uh-huh.
we just
Yes.
kind of clicked.
That's wonderful. And now back to Denison, and what happened after Denison?
Well,
You married there.
we got married there, yes,
Yes.
and we decided we couldn't work together, but we could live together, so we
All
got
right.
married.
All right.
And she was a good city secretary, but she's been a better wife. So.
All right.
And from there,
That's a vote of
Yeah, I
confidence.
guess so.
yes, from there we had the opportunity to go down to Euless, again a larger city, and went down to Euless as assistant city manager and worked for a manager that I had known for some time. We had met really not through the profession, but he had stolen one of my staff one time, and I had stolen that staff member back, and we had gotten to know each other. And then he ended up having a lake home near where my mother and dad lived, and we got to know each other. So he told me he was going to retire and wanted me to come down, so I went down as an assistant and stayed there for several years with him, and then he retired, and then I became city manager of Euless in 1989. And was very fortunate to have 10 years in Euless as city manager, and it was another, I think, just like Grand Prairie, another great community here in the Metroplex. And we made our home there. We built a home, and that's where the boys were born, and stayed there. And we were very happy there until one day, and you've heard this part of the story. I got a call from Mayor England, and Mayor England, as you know, is a great salesman for this city.
Yes,
and,
he is. Insurance and otherwise.
Well, he was selling the city that day, and he told me that this was the place that I needed to be. And I went and talked to Susan and the boys, and
And they fainted appropriately.
the boys fainted. Susan, I was really shocked. Susan said, "Let's make a change." And I mean, we had no dreams of moving out. We were, like I said, we were very happy there. But she had a great spirit and a great attitude, and the boys, the more they thought about it, after they unfainted, they got receptive to the idea, and here we are. Glad we're here.
Glad you're here. Oh, that is wonderful. Now, with your permission, I'm going to talk with the boys a little while, may I?
You may.
All right. Austin, you're first, front and center. Would you look out into your camera, and let's get acquainted with Austin. Austin, what are your grade levels, and where will you be attending school in the Grand Prairie area?
7th at Truman.
At Truman Middle School? Uh-huh. Have you met any of the teachers or the principal or anything? Not yet? Uh-huh. Have you already enrolled yet?
I hope.
No early enrollment? You hope you have?
Well, I don't
Okay.
care.
What are your interests? Do you have any pets?
A dog.
You have a dog. Oh, what's the dog's name?
Lacey.
Lacey?
Mm-hmm.
And who takes care of Lacey?
Not
You
me.
or Trav?
Neither.
Oh,
My
poor,
mom.
poor. And what kind of dog is this?
Boston Terrier.
A Boston Terrier. Okay. Do you have any hobbies that you like to pursue? What do you like to do for fun?
Play basketball when I get it up.
And somebody's going to put up the goal pretty
I
soon?
hope.
Yes, we need this. Is that pressure on television? Do you think that's pressure on
Oh, maybe
television?
he's listening.
Oh, you think maybe he might be listening?
Hope so.
And other than basketball, what would be your second
Water skiing and
water skiing?
slaloming, wakeboarding, kneeboarding.
Okay. Do you do any book reading? Do you write any poetry? Do you sing, or
Never in my life.
do you have any kind of a cultural outlet? What do you
No.
like to do for? Do you ever go to the movies or to the opera or
No,
or to musicals?
I don't think so.
Okay. What would be a real fun weekend for you if you had as much money as Dad would give you for your allowance, and you could just plan your whole weekend? What would you like to do for a real good time weekend?
Water skiing,
You'd like to go water skiing? Where would
Yeah.
you like for that to be?
Joe Pool Lake.
At Joe Pool Lake. Okay. Are you going to want to rent a motorboat, or do you have your own boat?
We have our own.
You have your own boat, so you're ready to go, aren't you? Do you always wear your life jacket when you go out?
Yeah.
All right. Is there any thing that you would like to tell the young people in the viewing audience about having to leave your wonderful birthplace of Euless and come to Grand Prairie, but you're going to give us a chance?
Yeah. I
Yeah?
don't know.
Yeah.
I
And
guess.
in the future, do you have any plans just way far off of what you'd like maybe to become when you become an adult?
City manager.
You want to become a city manager, so you have it really cut out for you. And why did you make that choice?
Because he gets to do all the fun stuff.
Oh, get to do all of the fun stuff, don't you? All right, we're going to leave you, Austin, unless you'd like to tell the boys and girls in the viewing audience anything, and I'll come back to you and get a testimony from you in a
No.
minute. You wouldn't like to
No,
do that?
I can go fast.
Okay, let's get to Travis. Travis, you're 10, and where will you be going to school?
Truman.
You're going to Truman also?
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yes, ma'am.
is wonderful. What grade?
6th.
You're going to be in the 6th, though. Oh, you're going to clear things out at Truman. It's going to be wonderful. If you had a choice of the best fun weekend that you could have, and you had the money, and you had the permission of the family, what would you like to call down maybe for your birthday?
Probably, I want to go bungee jumping.
All right. You want to live it up.
Yeah.
Yes. And you'd like to do that is the most fun that you could even forecast, right?
Yeah.
Do you know a place to go bungee jumping?
I think there's a place in Arlington.
Okay. All right. That's next door, but we don't mind you going next door if you can find just the answer to your very favorite wish. And other than bungee jumping, do you really take care of the pet dog?
A little bit.
A little bit. But who is the real and rightful owner of this?
Me.
We have a conflict of interest here. We have both of them that are going to claim one's going to have one half of the dog and the other. And are y'all going to take care of this wonderful dog that you have, this terrier?
Yeah.
Boston Terrier.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now, Travis, I'd like to know if you have your sights on anything that you want to do in the future. Is the 6th grade just a little too far back for you?
No, I want to be a business executive.
You want to be a business executive.
Yeah.
Why do you want to do that? Make a lot of money?
Yeah, make a lot of money.
You want to make a lot of money. And do you know what field of business you'd like to go into? What would you like to be, the manager of a bank or a law firm or a what?
I don't really know.
Right now, you know you want to be a business major.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good. Do you have any hobbies?
Water skiing.
Water skiing?
Yeah.
Do you like to read?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Okay. Do you like movies or
Yeah, I love
videos
movies.
Yeah.
Computer too.
Oh, you like computer?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me your favorite thing to do on the computer.
I don't know. The internet.
The internet. You just like to do a lot of research?
Sorta, yeah.
Okay. And have you made any special new friends since you've been here in Grand Prairie that you'd like to name on this show?
No,
Not yet?
not yet.
When we go to school, you're going to come back with a great big long list right after we go to middle school?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I happen to know the principal at your Truman Middle School, if he's been assigned there again this year, and he's a real fine young man, and he has a good singing voice, so he may try you all out for the choir or something exciting when you go there, so who knows. All right.
Jackson, I hope they don't get to know him very well.
Well, you hope everything will be just real cool.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Fellas, we're going to leave y'all in a few minutes, but I want to get back to you before we end the show and ask you maybe if you have a philosophy of life, and that means something really good. So be thinking about that, and you may not have a philosophy of life yet, so we may have to call on our parents to help us come up with something like that when your dad gives you a job, you say, I'm going to do the best I can, as quick as I can, and as little trouble as I can get into, or some good philosophy like that the boys and girls might like to know about. But now we need to get back to Mr. Tom Hart. Mr. Tom Hart, y'all are married, you have all of these two wonderful children. Have you allowed Mrs. Hart to have a career, or does she have a career as a homemaker and raising kids, which is a full-time job?
Well, she has really, I think, balanced that very nicely over the years. She, she had a professional job as city secretary,
Yes.
and then after we moved down to Euless in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, she opened a bridal and tuxedo store and had that for a number of years.
All right.
And she, I thought, did a very good job running her business, and reached a point with the boys that she sold the business out. And then after that, she's worked. She's enjoyed working, but she's worked in jobs that she could work in hours while the kids were in school.
While the kids are in school.
And it hasn't really been high money positions, but it's been things she's enjoyed, and it's been her first priority has been to be home with the boys.
Susan, let us know what it's like to be married to a vivacious city manager that's on the go all of the time, that his brain's turning 100 miles an hour, and he's going to pamper you now and get you to talk nicely and low talk and sweet talk. But tell us an experience that you've had in that field since you've left the city manager type of interest, other than being married to a city manager. What's it like to be the hostess with the mostest for all of the things that he draws you into?
Well, there's never a dull moment.
Yes.
I've been known to put together a dinner on less than 24 hours notice. He just maybe invited people over a week before, but he just told me the morning of it.
Yes.
And I have pulled off things like that.
Yes.
Luckily, I do like to cook, and I did pull it off, but he just always seems to think that he's told me these things, and he
Yes.
really hasn't. So it's been quite an exciting roller coaster, always uphill. He keeps me on our toes, but I think we keep him on his toes.
And you've lost your mother in the last
Yes,
year.
I have.
Now that's a very hard thing to do. And how are you coming along with adjusting without Mom?
It was about a month ago. I
Yes.
guess pretty well. We're in a new home that we've had just
Yes.
literally 3 weeks, so that's kept me quite busy.
Kept you busy.
And I'm sure that's helped.
Yes, yes, it has.
But Tom's been a tremendous support in that way.
That's great. And you're going to get involved in the PTA and everything else that goes with Truman Middle School.
Absolutely. Once the kids get in school and things have settled down for me, I want to do some volunteer work, and I like, I'd like to keep
And how do you
in the
like
school
your new
system.
home in Grand Prairie,
I love a
Texas?
new home in Grand Prairie. We are
That's great.
thrilled. We're in the Westchester area. Everything is at our fingertips. We are
And you love it?
very thrilled. Yes, we love it
Yes.
very much.
All right, Mr. Tom, you have we have 4 more minutes left on the show. We know where you've been. We know what you've done since you've been here, which is just exquisite. We're just so excited. Tell us anything you want to about Grand Prairie and your vision for us, and just anything you'd like to talk about for about 3 or 4 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Well, as I said on the last show, one of the reasons I'm here is because I saw such excitement here. And the first 4 months have been just a roller coaster. It's been so exciting. This city, from watching the city over the last few years, it has really emerged into to an exciting city in the state of, not just locally, but in the state of Texas. With what's been done and what's on the books, we're on the map pretty bright now, but I want to tell you, Mrs. Jackson, with what I see happening in Grand Prairie is going to be shining even brighter in the next few years. People don't realize it, and I think I've said this before, but there's about 1,200 cities in Texas, and Grand Prairie is about the 17th largest city in Texas now.
That doesn't seem possible, does it?
It doesn't, and it's just continuing to grow. And what's nice is as it's growing, it's not just people. We're getting a good balance of commercial, of industrial. We're getting some really nice upper-end multifamily. We're getting a nice retail base finally, and we're getting a good spread of homes. There are a lot of different types of housing. So Grand Prairie is exciting. We've got the Motorplex in the works. We've got the Showplex in the works. We're looking at going to our voters with a quarter-cent sales tax for parks in the next few months that I hope you'll dedicate a whole show to, because you know, parks is one of those amenities that makes a city, that gives value to a city, that makes you want to live there. So it is something that we have the opportunity to give to our citizens and make Grand Prairie be known for an amenity that other cities would just dream about having, and we have the ability to do that. So all of that said, I'm very excited about the city and the job. We're getting settled in. I'm excited about the possibility for the kids. You know, they're enjoying the lake, they're enjoying going to the Y. We're going to be looking for a church home over the next couple of months. So this is a place that, I'll tell you, we hadn't moved in 16 years, and after going through the last few weeks, Ms. Jackson, I hope y'all are happy, because we plan on being here a while. This is going to be home.
Stand, yes.
So, and from what we've experienced so far, it's going to be a great place to be.
Oh, that's wonderful. We're glad for your entrance interview as a family.
Thank you.
We're so appreciative that you'll take the time to come and be with us today. And the young men, do you all have a philosophy of life that you want to part with? How about you, first of all, Trav?
Maybe if I knew what it was.
If you knew what it was, your philosophy of life, you might give us a good one.
Yeah, I might give you a good one.
Just say life is not a replay. You got to do it right the first time, because you don't get a chance to play it over and over and over again. That's a pretty good philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll be mine.
And also, if you'd like another one, just do the best you can while you're here. Does that sound pretty reasonable?
That sounds reasonable.
All right. We'll let y'all adopt either one of those that you want to. And I want to thank y'all for tolerating sitting on pillows and being on the show. And the next time we have you back here, we're going to have you sitting up in the chairs. And after you've been to school, we're going to let you come back and give us a report on Truman, okay?
Sure. All right.
All right. I want to thank you, Mr. Tom Hart.
So much.
Thank you, Susan, very
Mrs.
much
Jackson.
for sharing with us today. And you have a wonderful family. You have a real great opportunity here, and we're just so glad you're with us.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being on the show today and
you.
doing this wonderful history for us. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.